Okay, welcome. Today we're going to talk about how to stop caring to the point of self-destruction. Okay, this is very important for overcoming anxiety, depression, low self-esteem. This will help you start working towards your goals. Okay, so why listen to me? So 3 years ago, my mind and my body was in chaos. So anxiety, depression, overthinking, it was self-sabotaging me. And this was while I was working 10 plus hours a day. And regardless of how much I was working, I was still stuck, not growing any of my accounts. And I kept constantly switching strategies and platforms. I could not think properly for the life of me. And this was all because of my mentality, right? What the problem was, it was not that I was not a hard worker. It was not that I was a not consistent, but it was my mind. It kept self-sabotaging me, not thinking clearly and not um being consistent. So now, after doing the work, after overcoming the anxiety and really working on my mind, things started to shift, right? So I am now more clear on what I need to do, calm and confident in what I have to say. And I'm also building my brand that aligns with my values, not marketing, not quick schemes, right? And this is all why I'm actually reducing how much time I spent. I'm spending like 3 to 5 hours a day building. And this also is when I started seeing growth. I went from 17 to 1,000 followers, and now I'm at 1,300. So I'm more focused and productive and efficient as ever, right? And the most important thing is that I can feel calm in my body. I know what I'm talking about. I don't fear people. And this is where the change really happened, right? The change and the way that I started changing my situation first started from changing my mind and my body and my soul. Okay, so we're talking about the system that made this change, right? So the first thing that I did, let me go to the next slide. Okay, so the first thing I did was really try to find the destructive cycle. We all have one. Okay, it really does not matter what's going on. It really does not matter what tools you are actually using, okay? Or what coping mechanisms that you're using. We all have something, a particular habit that blocks change. So write that down. What is that for you? It has to be very clear. When I started at becoming focused clear on what I wanted to stop, had a blueprint, and then I was able to start working inwards and backwards. So, what are your coping mechanisms? Is it food? Do you emotionally eat? Is it entertainment? Do you always have something on the background? Do you always watch TV? When when the first thing that you do when you get up, is it scrolling on your TV? Or is it some type of substance? Okay, and this could be some alcohol, cigarettes, and what else? We all have something that when life gets tough, when the voices in our mind gets too loud, this is what we resort to. Okay. And then once you have that one in one column, on a different column, you want to write the version of yourself that you want to have. Who do you want to be? How do you want to spend your time? How do you want to feel every single morning? What goals do you want? Okay. So this new version of yourself is very, very important because without this, you will not have a guide. Okay. So without this vision, your shadow, your anxiety, and your depression will always bring you down. So this new version of yourself needs to be um, mental, physical, and also like some type of external goal that you want to achieve. Once you have that down, you can then start rewiring and start working backwards. Okay. So once you have this vision, obviously there's going to be some mental, physical, and then spiritual transformations that need to happen. Okay. So the first thing that you must overcome when you're doing this, when you are trying to overcome anxiety, is that you have to stabilize your body. Okay. So we all cope with food to some degree, or some people even like of it. And what does this do? It ends up destroying your body. Specifically, it destroys your body and mind. Okay, so their mind and your gut is connected by something called the vagus nerve. And this is where in the gut, and 90% of your serotonin, the feel-good chemicals are, this is where they come from. And then 50% of your dopamine also comes from food and from what you're eating. So this is why we usually gravitate towards quick dopamine, sugar, um, fast food, and even healthy food. Just always eating to calm down your anxiety. So this could be one part of it. Another part of it is like the lack of food, the lack of nutrition in your body can also be increasing your anxiety and depression. So this looks like restricting or under eating. So if you are in this cycle of restricting, binge eating, or under eating, overeating, emotional eating, the first thing you have to do is stabilize your body and you have to fix your relationship with food. If this does not work out, if this does not happen, there will always be like you just will not be stabilized. It just won't happen. So when your gut is off, your mind will follow. And this triggers anxiety, brain fog, mood swings, self-sabotaging, and even depression. Especially when you're depression and you don't have an appetite, it's actually when you have to go out and really push yourself to eat something because this will then stabilize your body and make you feel connected to your body. So what you don't want to do is you really don't want to count calories, fast, do intermittent fasting, skip meals, or cope with food. And this is just for the beginning, right? What you do want to do when you are stabilizing your body, you want to focus on what makes your gut feel good. So there are food naturally, like on earth, that make our gut feel good and our body feel good. And this is usually like fruit, vegetables, protein, any food that's really low saturated in fat. When you do this, when you focus on how the food makes you feel in your stomach, in your gut, and take it away from your taste buds, you will start eating in a way that eating healthy, normal eating will become an identity of yours. It won't be something that you um you have to do. Like it's not something hard. It's not hard discipline. If you are in the workout field, if you are in the health industry, this like eating healthy is really, really hard because of counting calories. But once you build a mind to body connection and actually realize, healthy food makes me feel good. It's good for my mind. It's good for my body. It's good for my health, overall health. I can think better. I can focus better. Once you start listing out those benefits, you will still naturally gravitate towards that without having relapsing, without going back to the destructive cycle. So how do you do this? How do you reset your body cues? The first thing that you have to do is, now again, I'm assuming that really unstable eating patterns, right? So scheduling at least for 1 week. Let's do this for 1 week. Eat 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner with 2 snacks in between. So start with this eating pattern. And as time goes on, you will adjust to what your body has to say. But as time goes by, I'm thinking about like 30, 60, or even 90 days. So, but for now, 3 times a day, right? Schedule your meals and rate your hunger during that time. I want you to rate your hunger. So from 1 to 7, 7 being completely stuffed and 1 being completely and utterly hungry. And then watch how your hunger affects how you're eating. So sometimes if you're super, super hungry, you would go and just binge, but not necessarily because of lack of control, simply because you are so hungry and the body, that's what it does. It's because of the hunger, it just can't think straight. It can't, like you lose a little bit of ability, lose a little bit of control simply because of that hunger. So what you want to do is rate your hunger to prevent restricting, to prevent binge eating. Okay. And here we really want to use the stomach as guide, not the emotional cues. So think about your stomach. Am I hungry? No? Okay. Then maybe not eat. Am I hungry? Yes. Okay. Eat. How much am I eating? Okay. I don't want to eat to the point where I'm stuffing myself or I lose focus, but also not to the point where I have to eat again in like 30 minutes. What can I eat? Okay. So that's for now to stabilize your body. I don't want to give you guys too much because it's going to overwhelm you. Okay. But when it comes to the mind and the body, the goal here is to eat nutritious food that aligns with your body and your taste buds. This will require time, this will require practice, this will require mindfulness. Okay. You will have to make eating and healthy an easy process, not something hard. We don't want to talk about cutting calories right now. We don't want to look at weight. We don't want to look at anything that really disrupts the connection. Okay. And the goal here is to eat healthy and start moving. Get out of the house, go walk in nature, go to the gym, and start running. And so this is why I wrote the Mind Body ebook to guide you. If you're struggling with restricting, binge eating, overeating, emotional eating, or under eating, or even just straight eating junk food, processed food all the times, what we really want to get you is to normal eating pattern. And this includes eating when you're hungry and leaving food when you're not hungry and not having the pressure to eat and also eating when you want to eat. Okay. This is really, really important because without this, you won't even have the ability or the capability to face what's truly bothering you and even see the trauma that's even behind um, the trauma that built up to give you these parts of, um, or face the trauma from your childhood. Let's say that. Okay. So I wrote that mind body problem to really guide your eating, and in there it includes details on the process of every single types of eating, plus Notion templates and a calendar to guide you. Okay. So that will be in the description below. So after stabilizing, not even after, while you are stabilizing your body, you also have to stabilize your mind. Okay. Every single thing that we ever do comes from thoughts. Okay. And these are three principles that you must accept. I think we talked about this before, where your thoughts, they they have some feelings towards them. Words have an attachment to them that gives you some particular feeling, and this feeling leads to some particular action. Okay. So when we are rewiring the brain, here are three principles that you have to accept for this to work. And these are not something that I made up. These are true. These have been psychologically researched. Okay. And this is the basis of CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. So all your moods are created by your perception, mental attitudes, and beliefs. Okay. This is why when people have anxiety, um, they think it's a feelings problem. But once we actually start rewire, okay, if my feelings are created by my thoughts, let me focus on my thoughts and let me start rewiring those particular thoughts. So when you are feeling depressed, what this means is that your thoughts are mostly negative and self-destructive. And when you're feeling anxious, your thoughts are mostly restless, you're paranoid, fear, and just don't feel safe whatsoever. So we really want to start focusing on the thoughts. And while these thoughts, they appear valid, and the reason why they appear valid is because you feel it in your body. And so because you feel anxious, you think you are anxious. Because you feel that my life is falling apart, therefore it is falling apart. While it's good and it's really, really good that you have that type of awareness, the separation comes when you have to realize that they are irrational or just plain wrong, okay? And that twisted thinking is a major cause of your suffering. There's this book called, I think, Thinking is the Root of Suffering. The same principles here, okay? So what we really want to change, what we really want to attack here, and what we really want to focus on is your thinking. And we will go from the anxiety, the fear, the hating everybody to a more calm and understanding perspective. And this will be bounded by reality. You will look for reality, evidence in reality. Okay, so here's how we're going to prove this. Okay, so we're going to take, let's say, 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, like 10 seconds to say to yourself some degrading word. I have, for example, here that I'm stupid. So let's take that and let's just say it five times to ourselves. Like, how do you feel when you say those things to yourself? Don't you feel your heart hardening? Don't you feel like your body in itself just closing in on you? Now, let's say the opposite word. Let's say something else that's more motivating. For example, now in here I have say to yourself, I got this 5 times. So how do you feel after saying something like this? Don't you feel more motivated? Don't you feel more light? Words have an impact on your body. Words have an impact on your heart, and your heart has an impact on your body. Okay. So when we're looking at poor mental health, it just means you have a very destructive language. Once you understand and simplify to this level, everything becomes so much easier. Okay. And this is true power. And this is how we have been controlled by anxiety and actually how media actually controls us and how fears control us because of these stories, because of these words that they feed us. Okay. So understanding this, understanding, oh, what are these people saying? And how can I reword it in a way that I can make myself and other people feel calmer? This is power. Okay. So last time we talked about three different patterns, three thought patterns, and then today we're going to talk about two more. So I think a lot of people are familiar with this one, which is the all or nothing um, thought pattern. Okay, and this, when someone thinks like this, is when they think of events themselves or other people as extreme, as black and white, as either this or that. Okay, so for example, you have an automatic thought. This is your either your anxious, or your depressive thought, or even your anger thought, saying, you know, I will get judged and no one will like me. This is the basis of making sure that, why you care for other people. I will get judged and no one will like me. And so when you have this thought, the first thing that you want to do is write it down if you're capable of writing it down, and then label it. Okay, this is a all or nothing thought. And then after that, this is where the rewiring starts and actually start finding a rational response to this particular thought. Um, for example, okay, I will get judged and no one will ever like me. This is why I can't do this thing. I can't go out. I can't post this. I can't go to the gym. I can't say this thing. Why? Because people will judge me. And then when I say this like this, no one will ever like me. Okay, so if that's the case, um, well, don't I also have my opinions about other people? Don't I also, whether I like it or not, think about other people? And so whether this is a good thing, whether I judge people in a good light or a bad light, they can also judge me. This is a human nature. Like, who cares if they judge me, right? Like, and then also, no one will ever like me. No one out of the billions of people, no one will ever like you. That just does not make sense. How many people are in the world? And especially with the internet, my audience only, I think, like 60% of the US, which is amazing to me because then the other parts are, I'm talking about Indonesia, India, UK. So all of these people, even if I go online and try to find someone, if I am saying this message, there are people that will like me. There are people who will attach and understand. So this in itself is not a true statement, right? It's illogical. I am not alone in this world. And so the other part is, okay, so someone judged me, someone does not like what I have to say. Okay, so what? So what? Right? This is what I have to say. This is my truth. This is my principle. Why do I care what anybody would have to say? Another example of this is like if I set boundaries, they'll think I hate them. And this is also an all or nothing and also a fortune telling, right? You are predicting if I do this, then this will happen. Well, is this really true? So if they truly do hate you, if they really do not respect you, then you really have to say, I just don't care. Like, I just don't care if people don't like me. I don't care if I am not respected. I don't care because I have to respect myself. I have to honor myself. I have stuff to do. I don't care. And, maybe they won't hate me. They might be understanding. How do you know they'll hate me? or they might respect me for actually setting that boundaries. Have I ever had this conversation before to say, hey, you know what? Actually, I don't like this. Please don't do this to me again. Okay? And you know what? If they do leave, which people do leave anyways, it's not like we're always bounded by people. People come and go, right? If they do leave, let them go. Let them go. They are not meant for me, and I am not meant for them. I am not going to self-sacrifice myself for anybody anymore. I have stuff to do. I want to do X, Y, and Z. I have goals. This is an eternal desire of mine. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. These words, these rational responses, these are the empowering words that you have to align yourself with to overcome the anxiety and depression. You have to continuously align yourself with these words because this is what will get you going and walking towards your goal for whatever it is that you want, whether it's building an online business, a particular health, a body, or even a relationship status. And even when it comes to leveling up financially, knowing how to self-talk is so, 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 so important. Okay. As I mentioned, for 3 years, I didn't know how to talk to myself properly, and I was always self-sabotage. When I started doing this, and I can still continue to do this, I always start leveling up. I'm always finding opportunities. Okay. And another mind pattern, a destructive mind pattern. So this is the language again of anxiety, depression, self-destruction, and self-doubt is overgeneralizing. This is the thought that if it happened to you once, it'll happen to you again. It'll happen to you over and over again. So really, really not seeing possibilities in the mind. Only one, yeah, like a dark place where we're only just seeing one particular outcome when it's not true whatsoever. So for example, um, last time I spoke, people left. Last time I wrote a post, I had a bunch of negative comments. Last time I went to the gym, people like I irritated people. Therefore, why go again? Why do it again? It will happen again. And this is an overgeneralization overgeneralization thought pattern. Thinking that because it happened once, it's going to happen again. So first and foremost, we have to look back at what happened and really accept what happened. So, okay, so people left. People left negative comments. People at the gym, I irritated some people. Okay, so what's wrong with that? Am I not human? Do I not get a space to talk? And so what if I don't please everybody? I am not born, I wasn't created to please everybody. So what? Right? So what that I did this? Another one is, okay, and then like just because it happened once, it doesn't mean it will happen again. Just because I did something once, that the outcome will be the same. Now, if there are some lessons that need to be taken from here, yes, take it. Sometimes when I post something and I actually receive like a lot of negative comments, I look at what I wrote. Did I write something that was objectively true, or did I write something that was, I was projecting and I was harming people? If I harm people, and if I said something that really was out of pocket, um, then that's a good lesson. Those negative comments, and I actually did that before where I wrote something and I was just like, in the moment, I thought it was a good idea, but when I looked at it, all negative comments, it really guided me back, like, don't, this was really bad. Because what I basically did was, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to expose myself, but it was really objectively, it was a good thing that people did, um, kind of brought me back in line, brought me back in check. But other times when something I actually posted and actually, I thought this helped me particularly, and someone didn't necessarily agree with it. They were just leaving a hate comment. Um, it was, I think they said like, "Oh, good for you! Like, I'm so proud of yourself," or like, "Thanks, but next time keep it to yourself." Like, I don't need. That's fine. This will happen. People will say stuff like this. Okay, so. But along with these comments, there were other comments like, thank you for this. I needed this. Thank you for helping me out. So really, really not over hyper focusing on what really happened and just assuming it's going to happen again next time. No, there are other possibilities. So just because I posted one time and I got me negative comments does not mean this will happen every single time. Okay. That's because I said something and people laughed. Does not mean the next time I talk, people will laugh. It's okay. I can talk. I have the right to talk. I have the right to say what I have to say. I have the right to ask questions to my professor. I have the right to talk to the receptionist. I have the right to ask for directions. It's okay. And not everybody will laugh. Not everybody is mean. Really having a more comprehensive or realistic view of the world is really, really key here. Okay. And another example of this is like people don't agree with me on this, right? Therefore, I'm not good enough. I need to quit. I should quit. Again, overgeneralization. How do you overcome this and how do you talk yourself out of this, saying that people don't agree with me? Okay, so even if people don't agree with me, even if some people don't agree with me, that's fine. There are others who agree with me on this. My worth does not depend on people, regardless of what I do. Your worth does not depend on people, it does not depend on your financial status, does not depend on how you look, does not depend on how you dress. You're worthy simply because you're human. You do not have to prove yourself by having a certain amount of achievements, a certain amount of bank account for you to feel worthy, right? So worth in itself is like a different topic, but you are good enough as is. And again, if there are some skills that you need to learn, then you learn them. This is how you develop an ego that is healthy and not one that's overly confident and arrogant. You realize, okay, I did some mistakes I need to learn, but at the same time, I am not like low. Um, I'm not a loser. I'm not a failure. Okay. So again, going back with this example. So even if I post something, even if you say something, right? Even if you are being disagreed with, that's okay because there are some people that will agree with you and some people that will not. It does not matter. It's okay for people to disagree with you. We don't all see the world the same way, and that's okay. But the thing is here that you need to learn is that I am not built to please people. I have to find my own truth and live that truth, right? I am learning, I am adapting, I'm constantly learning, I'm constantly adapting. Treat yourself with care and grace and not something that you have to be perfect, like you're not a robot. So here are some rewiring affirmations, right? You take these with you and apply them and see how they affect your actions. So if you're having like two ones, who cares or no one cares or I don't care, right? Because because you can obviously care too much and I obviously care too much. This is what happens when people are prevent things that this is what happens when we prevent action when action is prevented. So when you hear a voice saying, okay, this is embarrassing, like, okay, cool, I don't care. People get mad at me. Or like, who cares if they get mad at me? Let them get mad at me. What will people say? I don't care what they say. Who cares what they say? No one cares if I do this. No one cares if I do that. Take these affirmations and apply it to your particular goals. Another one is so what? Okay. If What if people laugh at me? So what? Let them laugh at me. They laugh, that's fine. Nothing happens to me. What's going to happen to me? Nothing's going to happen to me. So what if they say something? They can say something, let them say something. So what? I can say something back. I have a mouth, I can also defend myself. I will cause trouble. So what? Like, it's okay. I can cause trouble. It's about time I can probably cause trouble. It's about time that I set my boundaries and actually build a life where I can breathe. Because if you are building a life where you are just being oppressed and everybody else is having, the majority of the people around you are living in peace, is that really worth it? It's not really peace then. It's not equal, it's not balanced. So you will have to disrupt that system to some degree so you can have your peace and say what you want, right? And so this again is only a small sample. The booklet that I have is a full text of ways that I have found and researched to self-talk yourself out of anxiety and depression. And it can literally take like the book in itself is going to take you some while to go over, but once you understand these, 10 minutes a day, rewiring your brain, 20 minutes, like 30 minutes for the whole day. If you do like 2, 3 times of split up the sections, right? It rewires your body for confidence. Um, Instead of using for work or food or scrolling as self-soothing, you will finally leave that life behind and actually be clear and find out and be able to live a life that you want to live. Most importantly, it will literally stop the inner critic. You will understand how to overcome the inner critic, along with the emotions of shame, guilt, and anger that makes your body heavy and so much more. This was really, it brought to me my core reason for anxiety and depression. And this is why it was stuck with me for so long. So really rewiring your beliefs. And here's a bonus. If you get this book, you would put in a community group chat for accountability. What this means is that every single day, I would want you to write your automatic thought and label that thought along with your rational response. What is the purpose of, like, why do it alone when you can have 10, 20 people doing it with you and for you? Right? So by understanding what other people's internal dialogue as internal thoughts are, you can be like, oh, I say that too. Oh, and this is a good rational response. So now instead of you trying to rewire your own brain, you have at least 10 people working with you for you. So this will also be in the um, link below. Okay. So the last and imperative pillar that people actually miss and that modern society really misses is stabilizing the soul. Okay. So when we're talking about spirituality here, we're really talking about God. And there's something like God has a will. And what you really need to realize is that God is in control of every single thing that you do. Even as I am moving my hands, even if I am moving my lips and my eyes, the reason why I have the ability to do them is because God willed for me to do them, right? So what this means is that, as mentioned, he is in control. God is in control of every single thing that happens to you. So there is no harm that can come to you without God's will. And there's no benefit that will come to you without God's will. So if all the humans were come together and do something to harm you, they cannot without God's will. If all the humans were come together and to do something that would benefit you, and this could be as simple as give you $1, they cannot, they will not, it's impossible without God's will. Okay. Taking refuge and really finding security in God's will and knowing that people can't harm me except by the will of God, and people can't benefit me except by the will of God. You won't turn to people, you won't fear people because you know that in every single situation, it is God's will that is allowing what to manifest. Whatever is to manifest. Okay. But so many people of us, because they don't understand this particular principle, live in fear and think that people are the ones in control. So if I walk outside and somebody judges me, that's fine. Like, who cares? If somebody's outside and decides to harm me, I know that this harm was allowed to reach me by God's will. So what does that mean? That means I know that I like submit to the truth. I submit to the fact, okay, well, if that was what's willed, that's what's willed. It's not this particular person. Yes, this person did harm me, but at the same time, it was God's will who allowed this to happen. Also, um, The same thing with people benefiting. So what does this necessarily mean? This means that if you actually do fear somebody, if you actually do fear something, if you actually do fear a particular situation, go and go talk to God about it. Yeah, go talk to God about it and really reside in that. Talk to God and tell him this is what you fear. This is what you want to prevent to happen. Make a supplication for this particular for safety from the people. Okay? Because at the end of the day, when this happens, this will you how you will find security in everything that you want to do. Again, even if people say something bad to you, you know that you'll be more willing to accept it simply because this is God's will, and this is not something that you can ever change. We are all bounded by God's will. Okay? So whatever God has willed, there is nothing. There is nothing that we can do to undo that. It's impossible. It's intellectually impossible. So really residing and accepting God's will, because I don't know how conscious you are and how beneficial it is for you to, when you are thinking about God or conscious of God. But when you realize this and you know that I can't escape God's will, what else can you do other than accept it? So you accept the pain. And then necessarily the most important thing about this is that we are not trying to escape pain and prevent pain, but rather something happened to me. How do I cope with this pain? And this is, at the end of the day, a way to cope with it. So you were really created with human rights, born human rights, right? You were born with these rights. The right to talk, to say no, to eat, to sleep properly. These are your human rights that were given to you since you were born. And these belong to you. It cannot be given off to someone else. Okay? So this is why you really should not care about people, because when you are looking at these people, people are just like you. They were created just like you. Okay? You are not above them and they are not above you. And you're not below them and they are not below you. You guys are on this, we are all on the same level. Okay? So we were all created by God. So what does this mean? We are all under the will of God. So this is how you equate yourself to everybody and actually start moving properly. Because when you realize that you realize people are just like you and they really are not better, that means if you have a bad day, that they also have a bad day. When you are self-destruct, that means they also have the probability of self-destructing. When you are broke, that means people are also broke. When you are rich or when they are rich, that means you have the possibility of also being rich. So the question here is that the people are not like, whose approval are you really living for? Right now it's for the people. And like, why is that? Reflect, why do you actually fear people? And why do you care so much about what people have to think? As we mentioned before, everything is by the will of God. It's not the people who necessarily can cause harm. Yes, they can acquire it, meaning they can do something, but it was God's will that allowed them, that willed for this thing to happen. So when you realize that, you just go back, to acceptance that, okay, I really can't do anything about this. It is what it is. Let's move on. And that means if you actually do fear something, as we mentioned before, make a little prayer about it, make a dua about it. And for protection or for support. When you implement this and you actually start living by this, this means that you don't fear people, right? You don't live to satisfy people. You don't live to please people. You live for your own truth and only to please and submit to God. So what this means is that at the end of the day, like, God is in control of everything, right? So what was meant for you was never meant to miss you. And what was meant to hit you, what hit you was never meant to miss you. So when you know that happens, when you know you're in the situation, what option do you have? Where can you go next? I mean, are you not stuck because you feel like you don't have any control, you don't have any power? Don't you feel like you are trying and you're trying, but nothing is changing? rely on the power, rely on the strength of God to get you through that. And this is the spiritual affirmation that I want you to take for this week. Okay. In Arabic, it's La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. This means there is no power, no strength, except through the help of God. So this means that a person, I cannot move from one situation to another, nor do I or you have the strength to change the situation except by the will and the help of God. And I'm sure you feel this in your life right now. Whether you are trying everything or you are not trying at all and you just feel hopeless, have this affirmation and use this affirmation and use it to reflect on your particular situation. That there is no power to do good except by God, nor is there any strength to prevent harm except by God. What does that and how does that statement really rely and how does that fit to your situation? So try saying this again while reflecting your situation. And this is a spiritual affirmation. You can say in any language, and at least try to say it more than once. And 300 here is considered a lot. And this shouldn't take you more than like 10 to 20 minutes. It really shouldn't. When I woke up, when I had really, really bad anxiety and actually used to wake up in the middle of the night from the anxiety, this is what I used to say for me to calm my heart down and to actually put myself back to sleep. And I didn't used to say it 300 times. I used to say it at least like 1,000 times because that's how dire my situation was. That's how much of a panic I had. So you really saying this made me submit and really take refuge in God because like who else is going to provide? Who else is going to take me out of the situation? Who else is going to help me make money or leave my particular house or, get out of this relationship and X, Y, and Z. There is a particular strength that is needed that you yourself cannot get by yourself. So when you say this, it legit starts rewiring your soul, how you look at your situation, and it calms you down. This is the spiritual, until this day, one of these spiritual affirmations I continue to use day in and day out. Even today, I don't say it like 1,000 times because it's not that dire anymore. However, I still use it. Even before I got on here, I used to say it because we always have these self-deprecating thoughts. We always have self-doubt. We always have these thoughts never actually leave us. It's only by what tools do I have to calm myself down and keep me going? When I didn't have this spiritual affirmation, I was in bed all the time. Okay. If that was not the case, then I would be hyper working, like nonstop, waking up in the middle of the night working, applying to jobs and doing everything that I possibly could because the anxiety was so severe. Again, reflect on this, on your particular situation. I don't know what your situation is, but once you do this and once you say this a lot, again, here 300 is considered a lot, but I used to do it like 1,000 times. I think I did it for a week before I was actually had a good night's sleep. And reflect on your situation and really submit to the situation. And really, this really means that you're relying on God and you're really having the trust in Him. Okay? I think that's all I have for today. Yes. So everything that you need is linked in the description. And if you guys have any questions, you can always email me back or just email me in any of my emails. Or if you have my threads, that means you have my Instagram. So you can always send me a DM there. Thank you guys so much for your time. If you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, talk soon. Bye.